What's up, everybody? Tony Cutillo right here. Tony Cutillo Show, live right here, live reaction show like we always do. It's been a little bit, man. It's been a little bit because guess what? We've had a ridiculous snowstorm. It's been colder than a mug. You know what? And I've been hibernating, man, and I've been busy. So I will say that I've been busy. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of good things going on. If you haven't checked out the last 3 episodes of the No Sideline series right here on the Tony Control Show. Make sure you like and subscribe over on the YouTube page. You check it out. Shukri writes from 97.5. The Fanatic was yesterday. Dropped that today. Week before that was Javon Alford. Fantastic interview again from Sporting News, Fansided, Total Sports Live. And then my man JP Zapata, man, was the first one to kick it off. And we had a hell of a time talking about PHLY and you know his content creation as he grew and the obstacles of that nature. So we wanted to get into this a little bit because there's a lot going on in the sporting world, and I learned one thing. I used to really structure these shows right when we go live, but I don't want to do that anymore because there's just so much shit going on and so many different opinions. I want to get people's opinions out there, and you just never know what we're going to hit. Okay, you never know what we're going to hit. We're going to go to X machine, see what's trending on X, see what people are talking about. But one of the biggest things in Philadelphia, if we want to talk about Philadelphia sports, is the Vic Fangio saga, right? I mean, we have to touch on it. We actually absolutely have to touch on the NBA trade deadline, which is February 5th at 3 p.m., which obviously is this Thursday, right? We have to touch on that because we got to find out, okay, what's going on? Well, you know, what are we going to do? Because I'm a no to everything, right? I'm a no to everything. So I want to get involved in that and get you involved in the conversation. Listen, Vic Fangio, to me, the obviously 67-year-old Hall of Fame defensive coordinator presently for the Philadelphia Eagles, kind of like a bombshell. I don't think you should be extremely surprised because he's been around and he put so much into it, right? He put so much into it. You know, when he came over from Miami and he came here, you know, he had a plan, right? It's like when you're on the trajectory of retirement, you have a plan. When do you want to go out? What, you know, how many days you want to work? Right? You know, you have that plan. And Vic Fangio has a plan. The problem I have, and this is the problem I've had the entire offseason for the Philadelphia Eagles. If you're checking in, if you're live on Facebook, if you're live on YouTube, if you're live on X, you want to go over to YouTube, hit that like, hit that subscribe. If not, throw the comments up. What do you got? What to talk about? Sometimes I don't always see them from Facebook, so I apologize. But the Vic Fangio thing to me, I think is a very serious issue for the Philadelphia Eagles, and it puts them in some very murky waters. I put something out a couple days ago, and I got buried for it by saying that the Philadelphia Eagles right now have become a dysfunctional organization. And I had a lot of people go, "What are you talking about? Dysfunctional? Are you serious?" Yeah. Let's remember, this is the franchise that Jeffrey Lurie has said we were the gold standard. We are the gold standard. We set the example. Right? We set the example. The Philadelphia Eagles set the example for everybody else in the NFL. Say, hey, look at us. Look at us. You want to be like us. Well, guess what? The arrogance from this team has gotten an all-time high now. So, like, now when there's issues and there's problems, they just feel like they're going to rectify themselves. It's okay. We'll get over it. We'll get past it. Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem when we talk about Vic Fangio. The problem is now you have a guy who may not be all in. Now, and I'm not blaming Vic Fangio, but you have a guy that may not be all in. And this has really followed the blueprint over probably the last 10 weeks of the season. If you think about it, something has been off on that team. I've been saying it. I continue to say it. Something internally was off on that team this year. Whether you want to blame it on the quarterback or the receiver or the coach or the OC, whatever you want to do. All I'm saying is something was visibly off with that team. And now that the Vic Fangio thing comes out, I get it. I see it. Just shows me, again, this is why I feel like this is a dysfunctional franchise at this very moment. Because now they don't know what direction they want to go to. Don't listen. I will say this. I am not going to bash Sean Mannion. I'm not. Not going to say it's a ridiculous hire. We hired this guy. He's young, never called plays. He's 29. Blah, 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 blah. Listen, man, Sean McVay was hired as a head coach at 30 years old, for Christ's sake. Okay, so let's not like start killing Sean Mannion. My issue with Sean Mannion, though, is I feel like even if he does work out, the Eagles struck gold indirectly because they were not aiming for Sean Mannion. Okay, they thought in their mind they would have been the most attractive spot in the NFL to be an offensive coordinator. They overplayed their hand. They got cocky. Okay, they got arrogant, and guess what? It didn't happen. They got snubbed by everybody. They got snubbed by everybody. Okay, so now comes the Vic Fangio effect. Now all of a sudden, Vic Fangio contemplating retirement, right? Doesn't want to come back. Do you think if this organization was functioning on all cylinders, all those Pistons were firing, man. Synthetic oil changes. They're firing. Do you think Vic Fangio, do you think he would have any inkling of retiring right now? Out of the blue? Nope. No. If it was, it would have been a few months ago. But again, or a few weeks ago, however long it was since the end of the season. But again, this has to speak to you. Right? You have to read between the lines, read the tea leaves, man. I think Vic sees the writing on the wall. He sees that there's an issue. I'll be honest with you, and people ain't gonna like this, but again, I shoot from the hip, man. I shoot from the hip. Make sure you like and subscribe. Talking Toll right here. Talking Toll show, live reaction show. Talking about Vic Fangio. We're gonna get a little VJ Edgecombe and a little disinterest in the Philadelphia Phillies, but I have a sneaky suspicion. A sneaky suspicion that if this was a different coach this year, I don't think Vic Fangio is talking about retirement. Now, a lot of people are telling me, oh, you're being ridiculous. You're being ridiculous. Listen, man, I continue to say it. I continue to say it that I feel, again, that something is off with this head coach right now. I do. I feel like something is off with the head coach, meaning within the team. Okay. And not to mention, is it ironic that after Christian Parker becomes a defensive coordinator, the highly respected defensive backs coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, the highly respected defensive coach of Christian Parker, he goes to Dallas. That was somebody important on Vic Fangio's staff. Did the Philadelphia Eagles try to keep him? Like, is anybody asking that question? Did the Philadelphia Eagles try to keep Christian Parker? Does anybody have the answer for that? Because my issue is maybe they didn't. And maybe that pissed Vic Fangio off. Maybe Vic was like, bro, how do you let one of my best coaches go? How do you let one of my best coaches go? And maybe Howie was like, look, we're not signing your guy, Jalen Phillips. We're not going all in this year. And Vic's probably like, you know what, man, screw this. Like, Vic's like, you know what? I had enough, man. I worked my ass off the last 2 years building this defense, getting them up to the elite status at times in the NFL. And now you're just going to start picking and prodding players and coaches away from me. I can't work any harder, and I'm not getting any younger at 67 years old. So again, there's that word, in my opinion, dysfunction. And that's why I think the Eagles, I'm not saying they will always be a dysfunctional franchise going for it, but right now, in my opinion, they are operating with complete dysfunction. And they're operating as a dysfunctional franchise. And I think that's a major problem. I think it's a major problem. And listen, get your fanboy pants off, okay? Stop it for a second. I know we all want to go fly, Eagles fly. We all want to be green. I get it, right? I understand. I do too. However, we have to start looking realistically at what this could spell for us. We have to start looking at this realistically about what is the next steps for the Philadelphia Eagles and what are the realistic next steps for the Philadelphia Eagles. Because if there's no Vic Fangio, there, to me, there's no elite defense. I don't care who you bring in. I don't think it matters, right? I don't think it matters. And here's the thing. I'll say this again. I side with Vic Fangio, right? Two Italian guys, right? Very stubborn, right? Very outspoken, very opinionated. I feel like I'm 1-1 with Vic Fangio. And the one thing I'll say about I'll say about myself is I say this all the time, that I'm one of the most loyal people you ever meet. You do me dirty, F off. You're done. You're dead to me. DTM list forever. DTM forever. Dead to me list forever. And all I'm looking at it with Vic Fangio is maybe possibly, he's a little pissed off. Right? He's a little pissed off. And he's saying, you know what? If that's the way you want to play, you know what? I probably would have gave you guys notice, but now I'm contemplating it. And here's the other reason why I say dysfunction again. And that's going to be the word of the night for me is dysfunction. Is I'm not a Joe Giglio guy. I'm not. Respect him, can't stand him. However, what he said today was very telling, and I actually agree with it. Where you can't have a guy one pant leg on, one pant leg off, one leg in, one leg out. You just can't. And I think he's already showed his hand. He's already showed me the way I'm looking at this. The way I'm looking at this is he's not all in. And even if he says he's all in, do we really believe that he's going to be all in? See, that's what happens when these kind of talks they start to really spread out and they start to get aired out into the media, and people start to talk about them a little bit, and all of a sudden you see a little smoke, right? Where there's smoke, there's fire. And again, here's another thing: dysfunction. Why? The Eagles are always ahead of the curve. The Eagles are always ahead of the curve, meaning the Philadelphia Eagles are normally above all when it comes to announcing what's going on with their team. And this got leaked, and it wasn't through them. And that shows me, again, dysfunction. Right now, there is some bad juju going on in NovaCare. And if you don't see it, you're friggin' blind. Okay? If you don't see it, you're friggin' blind. And I will say this, man. Depending on what they decide to do with A.J. Brown is going to really, in my opinion, is really going to show if they're functioning like we want them to function or they're completely dysfunctional right now. I'm very curious to see what happens with A.J. Brown. But again, listen, Sean Mannion may turn out to be a stud. Sean Mannion, again, could be an absolute gem. And that could be a gem that the Philadelphia Eagles, they maybe just stumbled upon. They could have stumbled upon Sean Mannion, right? Because everybody else said no. Listen, remember, if Mike McDaniel said yes, if Brian Dable said yes, there is no Sean Mannion. We understand that, right? Like, that's what people, nobody's saying that, though. Nobody's saying that. Everybody's talking about Sean Mannion like, man, this guy is brilliant. Oh, my God. We may have got him a year early, this and that. Well, guess what? We would have never even had him if Brian Dable or Mike McDaniel said yes. He's not even here. He's not even here. So the other end of this is, and this is a message to my favorite fan base of all time in the Philadelphia Eagles. For all you blowhards out there that were calling for Kevin Cutillo, for all you blowhards out there that were calling for KP's job, And all you blowhards out there that were talking about this guy's never called plays before. Like, how can they give him the offense? You are the same blowhards now that are trying to sell yourself on Sean Mannion. And guess how many plays Sean Mannion's called? 0. So are we going to treat Sean Mannion the same way we treated Kevin Patullo? See, I hate hypocrisy. I really do. And that's one of my biggest things. I hate the hypocrisy that goes on within this town sometimes. It's not everybody. It's just the blowhards. It's not everybody. And that's the kind of stuff that pisses me off. So again, Vic Fangio, what do you think? Vic Fangio saga, whether you get in the comments right now, hit up in the comments after the show. Let me know what you're thinking. Do you feel like I do, where I feel like this gives me such a dysfunctional vibe when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles that I'm legitimately concerned about this team going forward. Now let's swing over to the Philadelphia 76ers. Obviously, 25 games, Paul George gets suspended. That's a ball drop, right? We were, how many days have we been talking about, man, a healthy team, a healthy big three, a healthy big four, with Paul George playing elite defense again. Well, now maybe I see why he was playing elite defense. Maybe why he was hitting 6, 7 threes, right? I don't know. I just kid. Listen, I just kid. I don't want to get into whether it's legitimate. I don't want to get into any of that. But what I was going to say is the same thing that John Ritchie said today, a former NFL player, on the morning show, and he was spot on, where you get paid to know what you're putting into your body. This is the same. This is the Jose Alvarado effect, right? That's why I was made at Jose Alvarado. It's a lot of people are made at Jose Alvarado. You can't cry the pity wagon here. You can't, and it's totally irresponsible anybody to ingest anything without literally picking up a phone call and calling a league or calling a nutritionist, or you have obviously all these avenues are available to you. So there's really no excuse. There's no excuse, right? So that's not changing. 25 games, Paul George is out. And it brings me to this NBA trade deadline of February 5th at 3 p.m. We're seeing a lot of guys already moved, and it brings up the Giannis conversation. And again, I'm not the guy that likes to talk about everything that's being talked about all day long, but I do want to give my opinion on it because I feel very strongly about it. I think people are absolutely asinine when they want to trade VJ Edgecombe for Giannis Antetokounmpo or whatever. I could say that name 35 times if I tried, right? So we'll just call him the Greek freak. Let's call him Giannis, right? How many years I've been talking about Giannis, but I still can't say his last name without, my tongue tiedness getting to me. My man, see you checking in. What's up? See ya. VJ Edgecombe. I know he's a rookie. I get it. And I know that you could say, hey, look, we don't know if this is going to continue. But how goddamn long have we waited in Philadelphia for young, controllable, superstar talent? How long? How long? And I just don't understand why you wouldn't give up a youngster that's already playing at an all-star level. That's already this is our younger Jimmy Butler. Do you understand that? This is our younger Jimmy Butler, man. He got the attitude, he's got the moxie, he's got the game, he's got the toughness, he's got the story. Remember, Jimmy Butler had the story, the adversity he faced, right? VJ Edgecombe, same thing. Like, this dude is driven. He is driven. We have a backcourt that was on Slam friggin' magazine, bro. Slam magazine. These dudes are like peanut butter and jelly, for real. Not to sound cliche, but seriously, they go together so well. This dude's got hops. This dude's got energy. And all of a sudden now, you want me to trade him away for a 31-year-old broken down Giannis. I don't care. I don't care. if you think 31 is young. I don't care. This dude has bitched and moaned and cried and show. He couldn't, listen, he couldn't deal with Milwaukee. Giannis could not deal with the media and the fans of Milwaukee. And he's going to be able to deal with the media and the fans in Philadelphia? And you want that? You want his soft ass here? You're crazy. You're crazy. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I've heard people all day long. Sure, do it in my sleep. Do it in my sleep. What? What? Well, bro, you need to wake up because I don't want you in your sleep because you shouldn't be doing it in your sleep. My man Javon checking in says, I find it funny how earlier this season people didn't have expectations for the Sixers. Now they want exactly. Now they want to entertain Giannis trade for VJ. It's ridiculous. So we waited for the Sixers team to get young and athletic and have depth. They got all three, and now we want to get rid of them. Like we want to do the James Harden thing again. Like, why? Why do we want to do this? We're set up. We have a max player in Tyrese, right? We have a younger, controllable guy, a budding star in VJ Edgecombe. We have a protected LA Clippers pick who's going to suck in 2028. That's going to be friggin' gold. We got depth on this team, like Javon said, for the first time where we can play. Listen, we have depth for the first time. For the first time to where I know Paul George is out for 25 games, but I don't think it kills this team. If we recall, the true Sixers fans, the true people that watch this team, if you recall, in the beginning of the year, while Podcast P was still trying to ramp it up, Kelly Oubre was balling out. Kelly Oubre made us even forget that Paul George wasn't on the court. Now, am I saying that Kelly Oubre has the talent of Paul George? No, man, stop. Don't even twist it. However, if you tell me that right away my chances of what I thought of, and it ain't chip chances, thought of just being competitive and whether we get in a play-in tournament or not, I don't know. But being competitive, if you didn't tell me that I can't be competitive with a mix of Kelly Oubre Jr. and a couple other guys, whether it be Walker, whether it be Barlow, right? But again, there are so many factors to this equation. And if I give up half my team, people talk about giving up Oubre or Quentin Grimes, and I get their 1-year deals. I understand that. However, giving up VJ and draft picks for one guy, Giannis. Now we go back to the same thing. I'm going to have to start watching Justin Anderson and Eric Gordon on the court. Think about that. Kyle Lowry probably going to have to play minutes. Why do we want that? Why? That's what I have to ask. And like Javon says, and we look at now what just happened to James Harden on the move again. Because that's another thing. And another guy is crazy. In one day, I'm agreeing with two guys I can't stand in Joe Giglio and Nick Wright. And Nick Wright nailed it on the head today. Why on God's earth would any NBA franchise want to trade for James Harden? Why? What makes him even attractive? I'm curious. This dude doesn't want to be anywhere. This dude just wants to get out as soon as something happens. This dude, when it ain't all about him, he's out. He does nothing right now except bring drama. So why would you want James Harden? I don't understand. I don't understand why somebody would want to trade for James Harden. I really don't. I don't get it. With his track record and seeing what he's done over the past 4, 5, 6 years, why would you want the headache? Why would you want the headache? And that's my biggest thing. So I am saying 100% no to VJ Edgecombe. And if you are a yes to VJ Edgecombe, I need to know why. I need to know why. Are you that much in win now mode that you feel like, again, that you want VJ that VJ Edgecombe is not going to be that guy? I mean, why do we want selfish, over the hill, injury prone players instead of hungry, young, energetic, passionate, and controllable dogs? Explain that to me. Why do you want that? There's a reason why when people are going down to the Xfinity Mobile Arena that it's electric. There's a reason why people like myself latched on again this year and got their season ticket plan back. There's a reason why, because we felt the electricity. We felt it. And if you were to trade this kid, you instantly take it away. So I am 100% on the board of we are not trading Tyrese Maxey. Okay. We are not, I mean, we are not trading, we're definitely not trading Maxey. No, but we are not trading VJ Edgecombe for sure. That's not going to happen. I can't see a world where we are actually going to do that. I can't see a world where we're actually going to do that, man. And it's just this James Harden thing to me. I mean, if this isn't another situation where the players obviously, if you don't think the players rule everything in the NBA, you're so misguided. All right, here's a guy, I mean, that instantly, just when he wants to be out, he's out. When he wants to be out, he's out, no matter what. Right? He just says, I'm going, I'm gone. It's just crazy to me, man. It is. It's absolutely crazy to me. Again, I would want zero part of James Harden. My man C checking in says the counter would be that the East is winnable this year as long as Tatum stays out. It is winnable. However, here's what I'll ask you, Sia. And I know you're not in Philadelphia. So I think maybe you may think differently if you were in the Philadelphia market. But knowing what we know, I think we all know that Joel Embiid, as much as he is playing his ass off right now, is just one fall, one slip away. Okay. And I think that with those calf injuries for Giannis, that we've seen how many Achilles ruptures in the past 2 years with Dame, Tyrese Halliburton, the list goes on. Right. The list just continues to go on. And as you get up there in that age, and specifically, like I was saying earlier, to get a player who kind of is, like a mental midget, so to speak, when he can't even deal with the media market in Milwaukee, which isn't even that big. Okay. And now all of a sudden he's going to come here and deal with the media in Philadelphia. Like we already have a player, right? We already have a player. Like at the end of the day, we already have a player that can't handle the spotlight. We don't want that, man. We don't want that. So, but even if the East is winnable this year, and that's a big if, right? That is a big if. You would really have to sell me on the Sixers being competitive enough to win a chip. And I'm sorry. I look at the way this team moves the ball. And I see, I don't know how many Sixers games you watch this year, but I know Javon's watched a ton, and I know he's in here right now. And the way I've watched this team gel, ball movements, cuts, give and goes, in and outs, right? I think that Giannis would actually hurt that more than he would help it. And right now, I think all these people too that I saw a couple weeks ago, like fire Nick Nurse. I think they're out of their freaking mind. I think everybody's eating pop rocks on the timeline. I don't know what the hell's going on. But Nick Nurse has done a tremendous job this year with really getting different combinations and really remember we started off, man, he was running these guys hard and he was trying to find the right combos with these guys, and right now he's got a good 2 to 3 combos that he could throw out there, and they're working. They're working at like a 90 to 95% level, and that's hard to do. It's hard to do. And now he's going to have to go back in the lab because no Paul George, and he's going to have to construct some more combos. Now, I get it that your rebuttal could be, well, yeah, but if I'm giving you one of the best players in the NBA, shouldn't that be a good problem to have? I completely understand that. I don't think he's one of the best players in the NBA anymore, or like a top 5 player, in my opinion, in the NBA anymore. Okay, he's not. Um, he's obviously going to be one of the best players on this team, one of the best players still in the East. However, just with everything that comes with it and us getting rid of that one piece. And again, I would much rather do this, say it. I would much rather take the chance of VJ Edgecombe not panning out than take the chance of hoping that Giannis gets us to win the East and maybe compete for a chip. I'm sorry. I'd rather take my chances with VJ. I would rather take my chances with VJ. That's my biggest thing. I would rather take my chances with VJ. Definitely. Definitely. That I mean, I don't again, I don't know how else to say it. I just think that right now, seeing the way everything is played out, this is kind of where I'm at right now. This is kind of where I'm at. Now, VJ is so easy. He is. He's so easy to root for. I mean, how often do you have a kid that, I mean, just from day one at the NBA draft, he talked about his story. He talked about, living in a home on generator power for years, right? For years because they couldn't afford an electric bill. I mean, this dude knows what it is to grind. And these are the stories that I love. These are the stories that I love. I love, like you said, he's so easy to root for. And he's got that swag, man. And everybody, again, I think we always get very carried away in Philadelphia, wanting to compare somebody to a former star, former superstar. And right away you kept hearing the Allen Iverson comparisons and this and that because listen, there's only one AI, okay? But for VJ to come in here the way he has, I mean the impact is pretty compared. The comparison is real when it comes to impact. Player, come on, just settle down. But the impact is real, and I think right now the best thing for VJ Edgecombe is Tyrese Maxey. And the best thing for Tyrese Maxey is Kyle Lowry. So now you have Kyle Lowry, who is the player coach, who is the mentor of Tyrese Maxey. And now you have Tyrese Maxey, who is now passing that tutelage down to VJ Edgecombe. And remember, you talk about the offseason when they asked Tyrese about VJ. He was like, oh, yeah, VJ was hanging at my house all summer. Like they were bonding, man, playing video games, working out, talking life. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Giannis ain't coming in doing that. I'm done with those experiments, man. I'm done. Listen, I was all in. Our best shot in Philadelphia was when we went all in to get Jimmy Butler. That was our best shot. That was our best shot to win. That was the time where you said, you know what? That's the time we said, JB is that dude. JB is that dog. Well, right now, you have a younger version of Jimmy Butler. He's got the dog mentality. And he's actually has a better game at this time than Jimmy Butler did as a rook. Think about that. Think about that. So again, it's all about health and it's all about growth, but I am just not ready to go and say I'm out and I'm trading VJ Edgecombe. Just not. I can't do it. I can't do it. So now that the smoke is cleared, last topic of the night I want to get into is the NFL head coaches because I keep receipts and we talked about it on this show multiple times about certain guys, certain opportunities, right? And one of those guys was Joe Brady. I said I think Buffalo needs to give Joe Brady the shot. I said that before the interview process even started, and I think they made the right move with Joe Brady. I think Clint Kubiak is going to be a stud. I've said that before. I'll say it again. Looks like he's going to the Raiders. After obviously the Super Bowl, it's great hire. So let's just go down and we have listen good, bad hire. What do you think? Questionable. John Harbaugh, the Giants, 100% stud, right? 100% stud. Great move by the Giants, in my opinion. I think they hit gold with John Harbaugh. For there's reasons why things get stale, and 18 years is a long time. 18 years is a long time. It looks like, it kind of ran its course out there, and that's fine. Now, John, I hate that he's in the NFC East. I hate that the New York Giants now have a very capable head coach as long as ownership, right? As long as ownership and leadership, speaking about GM presidents that allow John Harbaugh to do his thing. I think this is nothing but a brilliant move, obviously for the New York Football Giants. Very underrated hire, Jesse Minter, a defensive guy for the Baltimore Ravens. Interesting. I think Jesse Minter, again, defensive coordinator for the Chargers. But I really, really, really think that this could be the Ben Johnson hire of this year on the defensive side of the football. I will tell you, sometimes people speak to me. And when I watch these conferences and I watch these guys talk and I read about them and I see everything just stripped down, Jesse Minter is going to be a hell of a coach. I feel it. I do. He's not going to go in like a Jonathan Gannon. He's not going to get lost. He's not going to have an ego. I think he really, really has the ability to flip the script out there in Baltimore. And this year we were talking about Ben Johnson, Chicago. I think next year, or I should say this year now, right? This coming year, we're going to talk about Jesse Minter for the Baltimore Ravens, man. I'm very, very in love. And yeah, Declan Doyle, Javon says, love the staff Minter put together. It's bold. Declan Doyle's OC, Anthony Weaver as DC. I love it. Like he knew. See, that's the thing too. These guys, they know, right? They know. And I think that he was already set up for success because again, it all comes down to who you learn from. And this past year under the tutelage of another Harbaugh, in Jim Harbaugh, how ironic is that, right? So you're now you are the DC for the Chargers under Jim Harbaugh, and now you go take the job that his brother just got fired from, right? I mean, it's so ironic. I mean, who the hell would have known, right? But I think it's very interesting because Jim Harbaugh is a very no nonsense guy, and obviously Minter learned a lot from him this year. So I do think that's going to bode very, very well out there in Baltimore. Number 3, Kevin Stefanski goes the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I think this is interesting. I know I saw a lot of people say that Kevin Stefanski is a fraud. 8-26 in his final 2 years with Cleveland. Talking about his scheme. There's a lot of stuff out there that it's very hard for me to measure anybody's incompetencies or inadequacies when they are coaching for an inadequate franchise like the Cleveland Browns. I've said this before. I could see this that Jimmy Haslam's a fraud. I think that franchise is very fraudulent. And just look what they did to Jimmy Schwartz out there, man. Like I would walk out if I were him too. That's just a team that's never going to win. It's a franchise that's never going to win. So I think that you have to look at certain things for Kevin Stefanski, and I look at certain games. I look at certain things that he was able to do in his first year. Okay, before it was just crazy, crazy, crazy drama out there with no doing of his own. Okay, but now he goes to Atlanta. He's going to have some tremendous support. One of the best owners in Arthur Blank. He's going to give him whatever he needs, but he takes over an offense. Now, I don't know what's going to happen, with the quarterback position, right? We already know that, bye-bye Kirk Cousins, and we don't know how strong Michael Penix Jr. is going to come back. So I'm not sure what that's all going to look like, but knowing that you take over for a team with Bijan Robinson and Drake London and Kyle Pitts, like you're already 1-1 with this guy, Kevin Stefanski, with his genius when it comes to the offensive play calling. Right. It is again, if you play fantasy football, I think we all know this. You play fantasy football, there's no doubt in my mind that the number one pick is going to have to be Bijan Robinson. Right? Because Kevin Stefanski is just going to turn him into Saquon Barkley of 2025. Okay. I mean, that's essentially or 2024, right? Whatever, how they overlap years, but the Super Bowl year MVP style season of Saquon Barkley is going to be what you can expect, in my opinion, from Kevin Stefanski when it talks about Bijan Robinson. I definitely agree with that. I do definitely agree with that. So I think it's a solid hire. I do. Robert Saleh goes to the Tennessee Titans. Now, I will say this about Robert Saleh. I don't think his time, the Jets are another dysfunctional franchise. And it's very hard to be a head coach for the New York Jets. I think Saleh did some okay things, and I think he learned a lot. But I think when you swallow your pride a little bit and go back to where you started, and you take over again in San Francisco this year, and you kind of rebuild yourself and you learn even more under Kyle Shanahan. Robert Saleh was one of those guys that I said, most guys in this group that were coaches that got fired, that got head coaching jobs, or DCs that were former head coaches that got head coaching jobs again. There are very, very few guys that I feel like we're going to rebound on their second time. But Robert Saleh is one of those guys I feel will. I think Saleh has a very, very good head and mind and respect factor. I think he, his intensity is like no other. It really is. And his attention to detail is like no other. And I think that, look, it just didn't work the first time around, but it's not like it's not like he went to the Philadelphia Eagles and didn't work. It's not like he went to the Pittsburgh Steelers and didn't work in the first year. He went to the New York Jets, who stink. Right? That franchise is horrid. Them and the Browns are where you're going to die as a head coach. So but I just look at some of those times where he actually was successful during that first run. So I think that's a very, very good hire for the Tennessee Titans. Very young team. They're very underrated, gritty defense with some really good young pieces on there. I think it's a really good move. I like the Saleh hire. Clint Kubiak. Listen, what else do you say? He's going to go to Las Vegas Raiders. Clint Kubiak is, again, lineage. We talked about it. His dad for so many years, Gary Kubiak, and I'm not even talking about the Houston Texans years. I'm talking about the Denver Bronco years with Gary Kubiak. one thing that Gary Kubiak has always had was a wide open offense with big time playmakers. And whenever you were in a Kubiak offense, I'll go back to Gary Kubiak, right? For fantasy football players, if you remember these names, Arian Foster, Andre Johnson, right? Remember Arian Foster? Arian Foster was for the Houston Texans, had some fantasy football championship years at running back. You talk about Gary Kubiak with the Denver Broncos, guys like Mike Anderson, Clinton Portis, Orlandis Gary, Terrell Davis. I mean, these were running backs that had career years of career fantasy football years. I say fantasy football because Kubiak's offense is built for playmakers. And you fast forward to this year, you're seeing it now with Kenneth Walker. You saw it all year with JSN. Clint Kubiak has got a brilliant offensive mind. Now, can he be that head coach? If this was a guy that didn't have lineage, I would say I'm unsure. But knowing the lineage and knowing who he's built upon, I firmly feel that he is going to do very well. With a franchise that's not going to need to be built up. It's going to need to be built up. And Javon, like Javon says, Ashton Jetty, top 10 fantasy guy next season. Ashton Genty. I'm telling you, if they can formulate that line just a little bit and get a decent quarterback in here, man, I'm telling you, Javon, Ashton Genty, top 10, I say top 5. I think Genty's going to be a top 5 running back next year if they could put the pieces in. That's how sold I am on Clint Kubiak. Like I'm telling you, man. I am telling you, Clint Kubiak. Because if you think about it this year, I don't care if it was Charbonnet, I don't care if it was K Will, right? If you add them two together, man, they're putting up top 3, top 4 running back numbers, right? Combined. Just think about if he's only going to have one guy in Ashton Genty, which he is going to, right? So, yeah, I top 10, I say top 5. Javon's solid staff is solid. Yep. He'll be calling the plays. He can let Dable run the offense. That's the thing, man. Like he does the defense, let Dable call the offense. And you got a solid, young, up and coming stud in Cam Ward. A lot of good things out there if you're a Tennessee Titan fan, for sure. Now, Joe Brady, I talked about this before for the Buffalo Bills, man. I love it. I mean, this is following the young head coach moniker, 36 years old. Listen, he has done more than enough to indicate to me that he is ready. A lot of different things that he did this year within that offense when he got creative, when he didn't have the playmakers. It just showed me that this guy's mind never stops. And I thought that, guess what, man? Sometimes, I know they say puzzling firing of Sean McDermott. I don't think so. I think that McDermott possibly, he rubbed Terry Pegula the wrong way certain times. I don't understand why Brandon Bean gets the upgrade. I've talked about that before because it was his roster that wasn't good enough, which is a little crazy. But I still think that watching Joe Brady be the guy and McDermott was a defensive guy, and now Brady can put more of his stamp on his team with the best quarterback in the NFL. I mean, come on, man. Like how much better does that get? So I think bright days in Buffalo, obviously for Joe Brady. Jeff Halfley for the Miami Dolphins. Look, I think Jeff did a formidable job as a defensive coordinator out there for the Green Bay Packers. Obviously it did help when he got Micah Parsons before Micah Parsons went out. But even before they got Micah Parsons, he did do a lot with guys like Quay Walker on that defense with stunts and scheme and he did have some pretty good game plans when I've watched. So I think he's a solid guy. But again, going to Miami, it's another bad, in my opinion, another bad town when it comes to ownership, another bad team when it comes to leadership. So I think he's going to have a tough go at it. It's all kind of like Packerland out there when listen, they brought over Packer, John Eric Sullivan is the general manager. Uh, again, it's like, are they trying to do something to mimic Green Bay? I don't know. Can it work? I'm not sure. They're trying. I just don't know if I'm sold on Halfley. Right? I just don't know if I'm sold on Halfley. Mike McCarthy, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Listen, man, that was interesting. Javon says, before we get the McCarthy, I get the comment. He says, I wonder if Miami goes after Malik Willis to pair Halfley and the new GM with Sullivan. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you. Again, I think that they're going to have to get creative out there, and they're going to want their guys, right? So I definitely could see that for sure, for sure. And I think Malik Willis. I mean, listen, we talked about Sean Mannion earlier. I mean, Malik Willis really showed some really good really good play tape. When he had to come in and for Green Bay for Jordan Love. So I do like Malik Willis, and I think that he could probably do some good things out there in Miami. So probably a good target for sure. For sure. Mike McCarthy, little look, is that our last try with Aaron Rodgers bringing McCarthy? You could go by the 60% winning percentage, Super Bowl title, yada, yada, yada. He has done nothing, right? Nothing since. I don't think he's been very creative. I don't think that he holds a respect factor in the locker room. I think going from Mike Tomlin to Mike McCarthy is oof. It's going to be a tough go out there in Steeler land. That's all I got to say. I don't like it at all. And that's one I don't think works out at all. Mike LaFleur, Arizona Cardinals, interesting one to me. He takes over for Jonathan Gannon, which we all knew was not going to work out, right? I've seen some things say he's been valued as a comparison to both Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. Again, he's the younger LaFleur, right? He's the younger LaFleur. And they're also talking about, him being compared to Kevin O'Connell, Liam Cohen, and Matt LaFleur. And I could see that. I don't know. Because I think this has more to do with the team than it has to do with the coach. Right? I think it has more to do with the team than it has to do with the coach. And LaFleur isn't necessarily a quarterback guy, right? As far as a coach. So if you're looking for him to reinvent Kyler Murray, don't know if that's going to happen. So not a big fan of the LaFleur hire out there for Arizona. Todd Monken goes to the Cleveland Browns. I'm not going to say much about that. Anybody that goes to the Browns is going to stink, in my opinion. I don't know. He's one of the oldest first-time head coach hires in recent NFL history at the age of 60. So, again, they go from firing two-time NFL Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski, and they go and bring in Todd Monken, who was running the offense that wasn't getting it done out there for the Baltimore Ravens, which was, again, one of the reasons why that was disbanded out there in Baltimore. So, really, really, really not excited about that. And again, if I'm Jim Schwartz out there who really wanted that job in Cleveland and they bring in 60-year-old Todd Monken, I'm definitely not happy. And I'm probably walking. I'm probably walking, man. Definitely, man. Again, I think he's out. Definitely out. He does not want to be there at all. So very, very interesting the way all these hires worked out. Again, I think that I'm surprised that Chris Shula didn't get a shot. I think Chris Shula was another guy, Rams defensive coordinator, who I think I would have had a ton of interest on. I think I would have put him ahead of a Todd Monken, in my opinion. I would put him ahead of Mike LaFleur or Mike McCarthy. But for the most part, I'm very curious to see how it all pans out, especially with Jesse Minter. I think Jesse Minter headlines the underrated guys. And then I go Clint Kubiak, and then obviously Joe Brady. But I don't think he's under the radar because he's been around for a minute. And I think Saleh does a really good job out there when it comes to Tennessee. So going to be interesting, man. Stefanski was the best coach on the market. Sia says, and I listen. I like Kevin Stefanski. I said that before. I think Kevin Stefanski gets a raw deal. So I agree, Sia. I think he was. I don't know if he was the best on the market. I would say I still think Harbaugh was the best on the market. To be honest with you, you're talking about guy. I think it was 100% John Harbaugh, and then I think Kevin Stefanski. If you're talking about coaches that were previous coaches on the market, then I'll give it to you. Steele, there's another guy, Javon. Great call right here. Because he's another guy that I dropped a content piece on a few weeks ago that I thought that Brian Flores would have been in high demand. I think he would have like I thought when Tomlin was let go or not let go, when Tomlin resigned, I was like, you know what? Brian Flores was the other guy I talked about earlier as guys that would bounce back, from DC to head coach again. Saleh was one of my guys, and Flores was another one of my guys. I don't think Raheem Brock is head coach material, so I think he had to go back to be a DC, and that will be his home. I don't think he would bounce back as a head coach, but Saleh, I 100% thought would, and 100% thought that Brian Flores would. And I thought he would have been in demand, and he wasn't, which is a little crazy to me. Which was a little crazy to me. I'm really surprised. I am. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the Super Bowl as we close this out. Listen, man, Super Bowl this year should be very, very interesting. I actually I was watched probably the last 4 or 5 Seattle Seahawks games, and I was very impressed. Very, very impressed. I cannot like the Patriots under Mike Vrabel and see what I guess the whole question is going to be is Drake May going to be able to, face the music a little bit, right? Because he has not been that good in the postseason so far. So we shall see. We shall see. But listen, man, I'm gonna get out of here like I always do. Keep this about an hour, 58 minutes. Everybody make sure you like, subscribe. Get on that No Sideline series again. This goes out to anybody that's watching. If you have a story, I would love to hear. What I'm trying to do is profile some well-known and maybe some not well-known media creators in the sports media space and talk about their journey, their ups, their downs, the bad, the good, right? And to help everybody to inspire younger people, or inspire people that want to break in and let them hear these stories. I mean, listen, I've had 3 already. Javon was one of them. Like I said, my man JP Sabata was another one from PHLY. And then I just had Shuku Wrights from 97.5 The Fanatic, who, again, a guy went from New York to Boston radio and now to Philly radio. So a lot of good things. And I know one guy that's in this chat right now that I'm going to sneak out is going to be my man, Sia Najad. So I think me and Sia, I'm going to try to hook up with Sia. I want to get Sia to tell his story because Sia he has really skyrocketed and his story is pretty unique. I don't want to give it all out, but he kind of went in a totally different direction and bet on himself, right? And it takes a lot, right? It takes a lot, and I'm not throwing this out, but Sia wasn't 21 when he decided to do it either. So that's why I respect that, man. So I'm going to talk to Sia, and hopefully we can get Sia to tell his story as well. So for everybody tuning in, man, as always, thank you. Much appreciated. Love the support. Make sure you like and subscribe. Get with me at the comments, whether you got a comment about the NFL head coach, whether you got a comment about VJ Edgecombe, Vic Fangio. And before I get out of here, I will say I'm gearing up, man. Very, very excited. I took a little bit of a step back from the sports betting space for a little bit because I wanted to build my other projects. But baseball is one of those times where I love sports betting. So MLB futures coming very, very soon. The value plays will be apparent throughout the entire baseball season. Can't wait, man. The home run calls. I'm very excited. So I'm gearing that up as well. So that'll be a part of the Tony Cotillo show. Just looking for the right people to partner with in order to make that happen and bring you the best product. So again, anybody knows any opportunities of platforms that would like to have that kind of content, let me know. I'm already working with a couple, but I'm always looking for more. So as always, everybody stay safe, stay healthy. Catch you back here next time.